NeonOwlNet is my handle on Twitch. My name is Jeremy Chandler Van Doren. If I don't know you, pleased to meet you. This is going to be awkward because I'm just doing a live stream to get a lot off of my mind and my chest. I'm going to close my window here. The reason I'm streaming live on Twitch TV is because it supports streaming from my iPhone, which YouTube app does not do for me because I do not have enough subscribers. I don't have a high enough subscriber count. I've got 10 followers on Twitch. Thank you to all the 10 of you who follow me. I routinely have one viewer, but I'm not sure who's actually viewing me at any given time because I don't know how to see that in the Twitch TV app or in the OBS app. That's open broadcasting software, open source software that I use to stream from my Mac to both YouTube and Twitch. But I don't even feel like opening my computer. I used to work for Apple, and I've used Apple computers basically since as long as I can remember. Well, not as long as I've used the Commodore 64, but that's another story for another time. I got a lot of computer geek stories, but today I'm challenging myself to stay analog. I'm here at my apartment in beautiful Lakeland, Florida. We got a lot of lakes around here. I like to walk around them. I live downtown. My wife and I have been separated this year, most of this whole year, I think. And I've lived in my own apartment since April. You can see behind me, just want to point out, if I can figure out how to point the right way. There is one of my Zettelkastens note boxes, or I guess four of my note boxes. That's what I'm here to talk about today. I'm here to talk about what I've been doing for the last 10 months or so as far as creating and using a Zettelkasten system following the guidance of Scott Scheper and his book Antinet Zettelkasten and his newsletter here. I got a little stack of on my desk along with some other stuff. So you see a couple of note boxes. I'm just going to tell you what they are. This is the very first note box that I bought. It's 3x5 size, so I haven't actually used it at all because I quickly realized 3x5 cards are too small for me. I started using it as like a productivity system, like getting things done. I had doing now. The first card is what I'm doing now. The rest are blank. So yeah. Because usually I open this up. Here's how this works. I open this up. What am I doing now? Oh, I'm looking at my 3x5 Antinet box, which I'm not using right now. End of story. Side note, this is a deck of cards by a company called Sephiroth. Final Fantasy VII represent. Or that's another. I love Final Fantasy VII. I immediately go off on a tangent when I see things that remind me of like this company being named Sephiroth. But that's another topic for another time. This is a deck of branding cards, analog framework for branding. I'm not going to open these up right now, but just the thing to note is analog. Cards are analog. It's analog technology. There's a sociologist guy named Nicholas Luhmann. You can learn a lot more about him on the internet and in the book Antinet Zettelkasten by Scott Scheper. He, in his own note, in Luhmann's own notes, Luhmann is the guy who basically is credited as inventing the Zettelkasten system, which stands for note box in German. The story that I find fascinating about Luhmann is that he was a child during the Nazi period. Rule 46 in effect. How long does it take till the Nazis come up in a live stream online? Oh, good Lord. Anyways, but no, seriously. Consider that, like there's kids now who are completely oblivious to the political reality. Nicholas Luhmann was a teenager. He went to a Nazi youth school because that was the school that he went to. When the Americans invaded Germany, he was captured and held as a Nazi prisoner and beaten and stuff. Just because he happened to be born at that one place in time and live at a place to where he went to that school. But he left after he moved to the United States. He became a sociologist. He came up with this note box system, and even though he has passed on, he has left behind his note box, and that's point one about the benefits of analog and writing and books is it's not tied to you as an individual. It's something you do. It's something that you leave behind. It's an art. You create an artifact. When you read a book, you're looking at symbols that have been printed on a page in a bound book full of pages of symbols that is an artifact left for you to discover or rediscover or remind yourself of some knowledge that is written in there or a story that's written in there. And that is how knowledge has been passed down as long as there's been written word. And before that, it was, instead of books, it was just people telling people the other story. So word of mouth, word of mouth storytelling traditions, which still exist today, those didn't go away. Storytelling didn't go away. The power of storytelling has only been magnified by the amount of books that society has amassed over thousands of years that tell a wide range of stories. Then you bring computers into the mix and you can analyze all the stories throughout history and find patterns. And so now we have formulas, we have templates to tell whatever kind of story we want to tell. Someone once told me that contemplate means with template, like thinking with a template. But when it comes down to it, whose template are you thinking with and why? So that's where I think the Antinet comes in and is an essential component to anyone's library, any knowledge system, and analog is really important. And so that's, really what I'm here to talk about, because it's something I've thought about but have never articulated, how meaningful it is to have analog stuff and to have note cards you write on. Legal paths are great to write on, and children take just a sheet of notebook paper and create a greeting card and draw pictures to show how much they love you. That's, paper is technology. Paper is the ultimate technology. It's like it hasn't been topped. Like, sorry to all the techno touchpad geeks. The LED matrices that blast pure photons into your eyeballs and make shapes of text, that's nice. That's cool. Writing and the written word is time tested. And the Antinet and Antinet Zettelkasten is an analog system for the purpose of being a second mind for you, and also leaving behind a record of what you were thinking about at any given time if you're using it consistently. So there is a correct way of creating an Antinet. It's or a Zettelkasten, Antinet Zettelkasten. I'm going to have to get my nomenclature straight as I talk through this. I will. That's a good time. Side note, pro tip: that is a good time when you're stumbling over words. Pull out a couple note cards. Write each word on a note card. Write a little note or a thought about it to yourself. And then what do you do with that? When you have a couple stacks, say you have a couple stacks of note cards, you've gotten ideas out of your head onto paper. Where do you go from there? Well, you probably at that point will have something else that you need to do, realistically. Because none of us are really scholar monks who get to cloister ourselves and write notes about what we're thinking all day. That's where, again, the Antinet begins to shine. And this is my main Antinet box. Contains main cards, which are basically topic cards. I've seen online, and I saw I was reviewing the Antinet Zettelkasten book, and there's a particular note that a main card does not have to be what we think of as an atomic idea. If you've come across that concept, it's not really important or essential to break down your ideas into their basic elements or deconstruct. When you're writing a note off your head, when you're just doing there's specific terms for writing a reflection card, or there's index card as 2 words and index card as 1 word. There's a lot of very specific terminology and stuff. So it becomes hard to express. And then I just sort of try to abstract and simplify. I'm at about 12 minutes on this stream. I know my attention starts to fade after 10 minutes, so I'm going to find my coffee. I didn't do a breakfast stream today. I haven't had breakfast. Oh, look, I did bring this home. The Zettelkasten book. And actually, I'm going to take these with me. This is a bib card. This is probably the very first bib or bibliography card that I wrote. One thing to note is that I wrote it on the blank side of the index card instead of the lined side. Then I started writing my notes, my bib notes. It's Kismet. What's origin story with foam and Rome research? My story with obsidian. So this is that's how it works. You grab a card, it reminds you of something, and then you're off. The card is still there, but you don't need to really it doesn't need to be on your mind. It's done its job. It will sit there until you need it again, and I will come back to it. Here's my coffee from Ethos. Cold brew with oat milk, my Saturday treat to myself. It really gets me going. I walked Sheila. Sheila used to live in a homeless encampment before she was rescued by the Polk County Bully Project. I think she feels comfortable taking dumps around when there's just dudes. I'm not saying they're homeless or anything, but just when there's just a couple elderly to middle-aged men sitting on a bench, she goes over there and poops right next to them, like she's gonna get a treat for it or attention or something. And then I just clean it up and throw it away and go on with my life. But yeah, I know I've noticed that trend that she'll and again, for the non-dog owners, I apologize for veering into dog poop talk, especially over breakfast, coffee breakfast. So you got that juicy thought. I like David Lynch. I miss David Lynch. Never met him. I didn't know him personally, but the absence of David Lynch in the world is felt really strongly because he did a lot. He would go online and do stuff and engage in social media and post internet videos. But now that he is gone, I'm seeing a lot of his greatest hits, and he has several thoughts about ideas being like fish. Then I guess your mind is like a body of water. And then there's the deep part, the unconscious and subconscious. I don't have anything to add to that. I like that idea. So about 4 years ago, I'm jumping straight back into my the topic that I remembered from the bib note. About 4 years ago, I was in school at Florida State University. I was doing an online master's course that I got accepted into amazingly, because I've never been very academically motivated, much to my parents' chagrin, because they're both teachers. I got serious about getting my master's degree, and then I was able to get into the systems engineering program, which is covers a good cross-section of my interests, and uses my technical skills and also my writing skills. And I've written a lot on the job. But anyways, before that, I went to undergraduate for creative writing. So I ended up in this weird situation where I intended to graduate from college and write, my own thoughts and my own stories. But I ended up just writing support articles and answering questions and case notes about what people called and yelled about. Did that for about 12 years. So I ended up abruptly quitting my job because I couldn't do that and focus on the master's program. That was about 4 years ago. Big change. I was doing okay in the program. I started. They say it's like drinking from a fire hose, like a master's program, especially like an online thing where it's kind of accelerated to get you through in a year and a half or something. You have to take summer classes and all that jazz. So lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, and then in about 2023, all these knowledge management apps like Roam Research. I saw this thing called Foam. It was like the open source script version of Roam. And then Obsidian, of course, Obsidian software. I don't know if you've ever looked up or looked up knowledge management software, you will have seen these kinds of things. And then, of course, the Evernotes and the Notions of the world, the web apps, they're all basically the same. And digital note-taking it doesn't really help you at all. It doesn't help your brain. And, there's studies along those lines, and sort of popular MIT study about how using ChatGPT causes cognitive debt because you don't use your brain. I don't know how it works, but it's just something that's how I felt after trying to use Obsidian with tagging and all that, and bubble graphs, knowledge graphs, trying to use that to organize my mind and my academic work. It did not work at all. And I just ended up with a huge digital repository of stuff that, wasn't really like deeply ingrained in my mind. I didn't have strong feelings or thoughts or or even remember about. Sheila, what are you doing? What are you doing? So I was looking, I was already thinking about, I should go back to notebooks or something. And I even thought note cards. Thought I should try note cards for taking notes and for outlining papers and writing and stuff. Because, when I was a senior in high school, this was in 1999, back when chili cheese fries only cost $1.49. I had to do a research project, and my teacher, my AP English teacher, Dr. Ware, she taught us the note card method, very similar to this. Just a card is a bibliography entry or a citation, and then you just turn it over and you write your notes on it. Just have a stack of cards. And that's really all you need to research and write a paper, is a stack of cards. Anything digital is a distraction, let's be honest. Any digital app or doodad or or device, with design there's intention and attention. These apps are designed to capture your attention, and they do it really well because they're really beautiful and bright and shiny, and useful. I'm using my iPhone to live stream on Twitch TV, and when I'm done flapping my gums, I'm going to upload this to YouTube, and then maybe edit out most of my blather, and post this Antinet tour that I'm about to continue with on the private community of the Antinet Zettelkasten crew and Scott Shepper, which is a very large thriving community of practice around analog writing, I must say. That dawned on me. That's community. I talked about communities of practice, different types of communities. I worked in community support, which basically just meant online message board. And it's amazing that, I've been on a lot of message boards, a lot of web forums. It is amazing how communities can form around people posting blocks of words with their thoughts. It's that easy. That's like, how do you research and write a paper? Just write note cards. How do you strengthen, how do you develop a community, create a forum, and then have people post about the same topic? Really, any other tools we have for social community knowledge creation, mapping, or whatever, all the solutions out there online, are just tailored more specifically to people's different wants and needs, but they all essentially are just it's the digital ecosystem built on top of the analog foundation. And I had so much. I've been online. I've been writing on computers for over 20 years. I had a crazy amount of drafts of stuff that were just like, I think I was incurring some cognitive debt there too, because this existed. That Linus Torvalds guy, ye old Linux guy, is what I was going to say. Once said that a file is just a stream of data. So when you're saving all your writing on digitally, like to archive it, unless you're specifically word processing to publish it, you're just like creating new streams of data that your mind is like that like occupies the space in your mind. It's like creating an association. You're creating an association between your real idea going on in your mind somehow, in your consciousness that we don't know how or why. You're having the fish, let's stick, just good thing we have the fishing metaphor. You're just fishing and you catch a fish or whatever. That's something that really happens in your mind. And then you're going onto a computer and you're using a representation of a filing system to instantiate a representation of a piece of paper, and you're pressing buttons that create an instantiation of each letter of the idea. You're creating a digital model of your own thought. And that's the opposite of efficient, actually. It's kind of hilarious when you think about it. Though the fact that digital technology is just a representation of real stuff. And we are making out like it is like digital is everything. I mean, it's useful, and it's useful for conveying information very quickly. And I think of it more like from a Gaia. I'm seriously like, I think of it more like Gaia theory. We created an electronic nervous system that's pulsing. Yeah, maybe we should have a dance break. No, here's what I'm going to do. I think I've talked myself out. I've got all my stuff on my desk laid out. I'm going to turn on the spotlight and redo my Antinet tour in 5 minutes or so, I think. Let's see. Oh, gosh. Messy. This is such a shabby studio. Neon Owl Studio. Neon Owl Studio. The shabbiest studio in Florida. Oh gosh, that's a bold claim that I do not think I can. The shabbiest studio in downtown Lakeland, Florida. Possibly. The shabbiest studio on Old Kentucky Avenue. There you go. That was a marketing break. Every show's got to do it. Nobody likes it. My bosses will yell at me if I don't promote my own brands every 10 minutes, It's a mental problem. Brought on by hyper-capitalist indoctrination. Anyways, I'm playing to the crowd here because I think that anybody watching on Twitch is probably like into political satire or, whatever, just keeping it lighthearted. So anyway, Antinet tour, here we go. I bought this box from the teacher supply store. This box, I don't need the spotlight. Bought this from the teacher supply store. They only had 3x5 cards. Never used it. I am, however, going to use it for all my tabletop role-playing game related cards. Because the tabletop gaming is like its own separate set, its own separate box set. It's not about knowledge development like the other Antinet boxes are. It's not about writing. It's specifically cards to pull to help me design and run tabletop role-playing game campaigns, which I've started doing. Another fun fact here, this is Hanafuda cards. This is created by Nintendo. Nintendo Corporation made playing cards and other games before they made video games. It's just something I've always found really interesting. Talk about a legacy company. Company that makes digital electronic device, or what do you call them? Let me switch. A company that makes entertainment systems that started out with analog products. Somehow the quality, the commitment to quality and tangibility just is a little bit more present in Nintendo products. Is that because they started out making card games and analog products? Something to ponder. So yeah, this is going to be a self-contained card game deck. I love friction pens, by the way. Erasable pens in a variety of colors. This is almost the same, this is the same kind of box. This is my official Antinet box. And in here, Gamer Shadow Side. I'm not sure what that means. That was the very last. I think that's this. Just real quick, I think I wrote something on here. Oh, this is good. Let me read. This is. I need to pause because this is something I was going to live stream about, but I didn't have a chance to, and then I forgot. And literally, the first card in my Antinet is something that I've been meaning to talk about. How convenient. I love video games. I've got a PS4 and PS5 set up in my office now. I'm in the middle of playing several games. I love to play online co-op games. But that being said, I have a confession to make, which is that I'm really starting to hate video games. And, how can that be when I'm me, a person who made a video game documentary and has basically been obsessed with video games ever since I was 2 years old, a little kid crawling around the floor, and I saw my parents playing Castle Wolfenstein, the original Castle Wolfenstein game on the Commodore 64, and they were laughing and giggling and squealing. It's it's a stealth. I think it's basically a stealth game. You have to escape this Nazi castle. As a prisoner in World War II. Maybe you play as Nicholas Lumen himself. That would be a crazy spin on that. But yeah, video games, I'm really starting to hate them because they're just excessively overstimulating and mostly unnecessary. And Minecraft is a good example of a game that was, perfect when it came out. First of all, it wasn't original. It was a copy of somebody else's game, just using a different language. Notch, whatever his name, Marcus Perkins, aka Notch. Had the foresight to charge money for people to play it online and sign up as alpha testers or beta testers or something, which I did. I saw an article about it in Rock Paper, a blog post about it in Rock Paper Shotgun, which was a blog. I don't know if it's still around. But now I play Minecraft with my kids, and there, the screen comes up and it's play, and then there's a shinier button that's literally animated, flashing, that says Marketplace. So what's the first thing they tap is Marketplace. And then they start scrolling through all these mods, all these branded or niche mods. Look, looking for something they haven't seen before. It's like getting kids addicted to needing to buy novelty, to like constantly have a stream of novelty that you pay for or that your parents pay for. And that's not what video games are about. I co-produced a documentary a long time ago called Chasing the Edge, co-directed, ran around E3 filming with a DV camera with Colin Creasy. Got us on IMDb. Funny side story, the way I got my, this is a testament to the analog world that we've lost. A testament to the analog world we've lost by Jeremy Van Doren. We made this documentary and then went back to FSU the next year, and the independent film league that we were part of, the film club that we were in, was putting on a film festival. We submitted it. We showed our documentary with films by our other friends that were awesome. But the important thing is we got an artifact, a program that had our film with our names on it, saying that it's screened at a film festival at a college. I took that, I put it in an envelope, I wrote a letter to IMDb main headquarters, and this is true, I wrote a letter to IMDb. I mailed a letter, I can't stress it enough, I mailed a letter to the corporate headquarters of a website saying, to whom it may concern, enclosed, please find the program for these films that screened, can they be added to IMDb? And I mailed that. Several weeks later, I looked on IMDb, and our names were on there. They got our letter and put us on their website, thanks to the artifact that I captured from the film festival. You know, compared to somebody thinking that they can that somebody can just live stream their own thoughts, can make their own website, can do literally anything you can imagine online. The fact that 20 years ago I wrote a letter asking to have my name on the website to legitimize me as a filmmaker is kind of nuts to think about. It's like, on one hand, why does that matter? But on another hand, that's several steps, that's a lot of steps that I went through that all involved some aspect of doing a side quest. And side quest, what I mean by side quest is going out into the real world, doing physical activities and actions that have results, interacting with other people, getting an artifact to show for it, like a program, not significant, it's not worth anything, that's why it's a side quest. You know, like if you play Fallout 76 like I've been doing lately, I look in my inventory and I've got all these flyers and like posters and like letters. And turn in one letter and get like a big reward randomly or something. You can mail a letter to the right corporate headquarters of a website. Spend the next 20 years calling yourself a film producer if you want to, which I never really have done that because it seemed pretentious. But I mean, it's on there in full color. It's in full color ones and zeros. So that whole story was just because I saw the one card. And that is why the front of this, the first tab in my Antinet is the chaos section. Because that's everything that's been on my mind, and I just jot on a card, and when I need to go, I stick it in here. And I stick this in my backpack, and I take it with me everywhere. And if I don't have it, then what I do is I go on the Notes app on my phone, and I create a new note, and I title it what I would write on the note card, and then I add any extra notes. Then I close the Notes app and I get off my phone. I have to be that strict with myself. I have to have, my process must be that intentional, or I will get distracted by all the bullshit on my phone. So the second tab in here is the soul. This is a reference. This is a method, like this is a framework in itself, based on the book Soul Cards by Haley Renee. So, this is my thoughts, and then essentially I've contemplated my thoughts and written them in the template of the Soul Cards method, or framework, or whatever. WTF is Right to Freedom. I joined this group in November. Basically, it's the community of practice for writing a book having a book and an analog knowledge funnel, and developing knowledge products based on what is in your Antinet. Right to Freedom, these are all numbered. There's Antinet Zettelkasten has a specific numbering schema, system, method, whatever. The anti in Antinet is an acronym to help you remember these things. A is for analog. N is for numeric alpha. That's the numbering system, numbering method, or categorization method, because it's not all numbers, it's numbers and letters. Alpha, or numeric alpha addressing. This is like the web address. If this was a web page, this is the web address. It's just a string of characters to help you cross-reference these cards with other cards. And I wrote these out. I'm not going to pull any of these out right now, but I wrote these all out as I was going through the videos on Scott Shepper's website and his Right to Freedom Incubator videos. Madness, that refers to the idea that when you're writing something, you should start out with a bit of madness, like eye-catching or attention-grabbing introduction is the madness. I was experimenting with another categorization scheme of my own. So this is very meticulously organized madness. And I think most of my madness would go under digital technology, because most of the things that I rant about is digital technology. So this, I could and should start putting cards here that are about these, my digital pet peeves or whatever. And then engineering, I've already talked a little bit about designs and systems, media and people. That's like people, my idea for the people section or people box is just make it, it's a Rolodex. Did you ever have a relative who had a Rolodex? I did. And when I think of like organizing the people in my life on cards, I just think, why not make it a Rolodex? Because they're cool. They got the little pop open top. So maybe I'll pick one of those up from an antique shop around here in the future. But that being said, I'm not in a buying boxes phase right now, because I can easily go down a rabbit hole of shopping and searching and buying card boxes and card accessories. So I have to say no shopping, just only using what I have. And I have plenty to work with for now. I have enough to start developing some short form pieces, which is my next big goal and next big hurdle. So we have madness, A little bit of organized madness in a world. What is this? In a world designed. Oh, this is what I imagined for my first book title. Enter the Exennial. No, this is a reference that I would. This is here. What is this? This could be a bib card or something. This is a reference to something I read in a book, and I put it right after the title card of the thing I'm writing, to remind me to like make a footnote or something in the first paragraph. Title, and I don't even know if I'm going to use this. This is just a cool title that I thought of. Enter the Exennial. An Exennial is a person in their early 40s. Enter the Exennial. How to lead as a neurodiverse 40-something in a world designed to keep you distracted. So I came up with that as a title. I wrote the different parts of it on different cards, put it in my madness box, because I'm going to try to think of crazy stories or crazy ideas or things that have happened to me or thoughts I've had that correspond with each one of these parts, like times I've been distracted before I had a chance to write down my great idea, or thoughts on design. In a world it's kind of like a movie reference. It's like a reference to movie trailers. In a world where, so that could be that could be a whole side, another chapter about movies, tying in movies and my love of movies. I don't know. 40-somethings love movies. Neurodiverse 40-somethings talk in movie references sometimes and stuff like that, et cetera, et cetera. So hopefully you can see how I'm riffing off my Antinet. I put things in here. I can safely forget about them, comfortably forget about them. There's no digital association. There's no association to any digital models of any kind. Like no virtual pieces of paper floating around. It's all written on old-fashioned index cards with erasable colored pens. The entire thing, this thing and the pack of pens and the box and a couple of things of note cards cost less than $25, which is a lot less than a yearly subscription for any of the digital note-taking and knowledge management apps and services, and about 1,000 times more effective. So that's where I would start with making an Antinet. I got ahead of myself when I was shopping for note card stuff to begin with. After I bought this box, I was like, surely I'll use this box up. I'll fill this box up pretty soon, and I want an alphabetical box here. So this is the other part, and this is a main component of the Antinet. Is the index. That's what the I in Antinet stands for. Index. T stands for tree, because the numeric system creates like branching thought trees. So tree, analog, numeric alpha, tree, index. It makes the Antinet. You can see I've got the alphabetical listing here. I'm doing something sort of blasphemous with this box, or not ideal. I'm keeping some main cards alphabetized instead of keeping them in in a section based on the numbering scheme. I'm just alphabetizing them now because I don't have enough cards. My tree branches are not long enough to where I want to take the time to number everything yet. This is not recommended in any way by anybody else, but this is what I'm doing. I have one box that contains alphabetical main cards, a couple things about acronym, A for acronym. algorithm. That's just the definition of algorithm. So this is this is a mixed bag of index cards. An index, the purpose of the index would be to point you to other cards and other areas in your other parts of your Antinet that you would reference by number or by label, some other kind of label. And I do have my own method of kind of filtering and branching. I go through, part of the Antinet process, part of the whole process and why it works is you go through a drawer, you skim through a drawer, you pull out certain cards, you rearrange things, you're getting hands-on with your ideas and your thoughts. And that's what makes the Antinet a second mind. And an effective one at that. Because you're taking that step back, you're doing the meta thinking, but you're doing it physically as an activity, as an action of shuffling, of rearranging cards, writing little notes that tell you what cards cross-reference with other cards of other category numbers, and so on. It's hard to get started, but the thing to remember is that it's flexible. It's a very flexible system, and you can literally start anywhere and just keep adding to it. And you don't rewrite, don't throw away cards, if you write 2 cards or 3 cards about the same thing, that's just more space to write some additional notes, notes to yourself or a summary or whatever else you want to write on your cards in your Antinet. I've almost run out of things to say, but yeah, just index. This is the index, and also where I keep my bib cards. Bib card is the bibliography card. Like this. Here you go. Here's a bib card for one of my textbooks that I wrote. So the way I have my components set up, the way I use my Antinet is I come to it and I either just start looking through the recent cards to see what had been on my mind in the last day or weeks, or if I'm researching, then I come here and I start with the top. I try to think of the topic or what the topics would be, and I go to, I want to say more about that guy Scott Shepper. I've got a card for Shepper here, and it will link me to other things. But this is, what is this? Oh, sell like crazy. Okay. See, I've just coming across work I need to do, because I have a stack of notes about the book Sell Like Crazy by Sabri Subi, which is a marketing book. I actually read that. This is probably the first marketing book that I read that introduced me to the concept of the funnel and how to sell products like crazy by being an expert at selling your own products using these these approaches of funneling customers towards you from other channels. Crazy stuff. But that's all. I just have that alphabetical under S for sell like crazy because I haven't used that information in a while, but I don't want to file it under my main cards here, which this is kind of like library, libraries have the Dewey Decimal System or whatever. I think it helps to have a number. I thought I was being clever, or I was doing my own thing, and I used to have this as science, technology, engineering, and the M was not for math because I'm not into math. M was for multimedia. So then I started putting I started putting cards about science into here. I used the Roman numeral. And the Roman numeral schema maps to my madness, science. So I would basically how I would use this to write. How I plan to use this to write longer pieces, since you can tell I meander like crazy when I'm talking. How I would use this to write a cohesive piece, and how this works in my mind. And I have a lot of output to do. I have a lot of stuff on my mind to write and organize. And then once that's done, I will go to the madness section. Start with just a story in under whatever category. Like start with a crazy story about engineering that I learned, and then follow that up with detailed information from the engineering box, and things that I've researched, like stuff from my textbooks or whatever, all categorized by topic, basically topic number. So 1,000 is still going to be the sciences. Maybe art. No, art. I've decided that it's going to be, it's still going to be sciences, technology, because science is theoretical information, and like stuff like the kind of stuff that you would learn by listening to the Ologies podcast with Ali Ward. That's a really good podcast, and it's been running a long time. You can learn a crazy amount of science facts, and each episode is about a different scientific domain, the ology, whatever ology, it could be broad like psychology, or it could be like study of a camel's hump, like a camel humpology, stuff like that. So I have a ton of those episodes bookmarked in my podcast app, actually, where I was like, that's a mind-blowing science fact. I would just be driving along. That's a mind-blowing science fact. And I still remember that moment of finding out a fascinating fact, even though I don't remember what the fact is. Luckily, I was able to push a button to bookmark that spot, to mark that spot in the podcast so I can go back to it later. That was about 5 years ago. I haven't listened to that podcast in a while. But in my mind space, I know, in my mind's eye, I can see that I've come across enough facts, science facts, to fill an entire box. So that would be like the body of an article, like teaching people about something. Technology is the 2000s. Technology is products, things that have actually been created, like the PlayStation 5, for instance. Or, like the Virtual Boy. Nintendo Virtual Boy is a interesting topic. I could fill a lot of cards with information that I researched about the Virtual Boy. 3000 is engineering, and it's mainly going to be like systems theory, systems science, not systems science actually, because that systems science maybe would go under here. But see, that's an opportunity for using the cross-referencing with the numbers, and why numbering is important. Having your cards organized in a numeric alpha system is important, because you could get to a place where you you have a bunch of cards, it's like on system science. Well, do I put that under engineering, or do I put that under science? Hopefully you would already have cards on a similar topic that you could I'll just put it next to this other, most logical place for it to go is here. And actually, this is not even organized correctly either, you'll notice. This is where I came across a situation where what was about engineering. This is exactly what I'm talking about, I think. Chemistry. Oh no, this is a previous iteration of this is numbered based on the Wikipedia thing, which is another, you can read about that in Antinet Zettelkasten. I'm getting off topic here. But you see this is not even up to date. But that's okay. It does not take long to skim through a stack of cards or lay them all out and reorganize, renumber them. I'm just not going to do that at this moment. Engineering is, let's just see. Creative writing systems engineering. That was an idea for what my niche would be, just by doing the intersection of my undergraduate and my graduate degree. Life cycle models. So this could be science too, but the reason it's in engineering is because it's about engineering a story. It falls under creative writing systems engineering because life cycle models of a story or a setting is about writing, creative writing, engineering words. It's not about a natural life cycle like evaporation or whatever, It's not a biological, it's not a natural science. Engineering is applied science, art and science. In the past, I would have put art and science. I would have done like art and natural science, and then applied science. But I've moved art under multimedia, the 4000s. This is a heftier stack. Oh, because this has my people and everything too, and I don't even know. No, okay, yeah, I'm not gonna. What's this? Creative nonfiction. So creative nonfiction, is a type of media. It's a category of media. So I would put that under my 4000s, the multimedia section. Drawer is a little jammed. And essentially that what stuff I've yapped about in the last hour is the entirety of the writing workflow that I've been developing with the help of the Right to Freedom program and the book Antinet Zettelkasten, and incorporating the notebox method into my own process of writing, of taking notes and researching. And it's taken some time for it to really become just like ingrained, becoming a solid habit, or a solid I'll just say habit. It's like, I've heard somewhere that it takes like 6 weeks to form a habit, but then you have to practice that behavior for like a much longer period of time before it becomes like an ingrained behavior where you can like sort of, you already have a part of your mind that's like a little metacognitive tool. You make a metacognitive tool in your mind. And then you have a part of your brain that just like does these things for you, and you can just go back to thinking about your favorite video games while researching, whatever. And I call that work-life balance in your mind. Whew, well, I am talked out. It's going to be fun to edit this down into I think I could probably just play the last 10 minutes, or cut it down to just the last 10 minutes where I did my Antinet tour, but I don't know. Maybe what I'll do, I'm just thinking production workflow wise, I like to think out loud. Maybe what I'll do is I will export it to YouTube, then I will wait 24 hours for YouTube to process it. And then I will use a transcript extracting web page to extract the transcript. I will paste the transcript into a word processor with large language model built in. And I'll ask it to critique my my live stream and to extract the best bits. And then I'll ask it to reorganize all the information I said into a coherent outline. Then I'll write each of those out on note cards. And then I will add references based and information based on other books I'm reading. And then I will dictate that into pages on my Mac. And then I'll print it out. And then I will redline it and make corrections. And then I will type up my corrections. And that is the kind of thing that I would publish. That's a publishing workflow. Putting a prompt into a LLM, spitting out an article and pasting it online is not writing. It's not even ideation, idea creation. That doesn't mean it's not valid. It has its place. It's like creating just a generic backdrop. If you want to create, it's for it's creating your own framing. If you want to start from a certain premise, sure, like ask Chat GPT to give you an outline along the lines of whatever you're thinking. But then you take that. I love the idea of taking taking an outline from taking an organized outline and then writing it out on note cards, being able to reshuffle and add to it. There's something I think that William S. Burroughs would approve of that. Writing methods like this, where you're transforming, because you're coming up with your own ideas, and you're generating text, and you're transforming your ideas and the generated text in different ways. But ultimately, you got to write it out. You got to write your thoughts out on paper. That step is essential. You have to write it out on paper and sit with it. Put it in your Antinet and forget about it. That is essential for knowledge creation. Otherwise, you're not learning. You're banking knowledge and regurgitating it, which is what people should not do, and it's also what language models and computers are good at. So why would you spend your time banking knowledge in your brain and regurgitating it? Insoluble reassignment. I just got a spam message. Does that mean I've had a spammer my one viewer is a spammer this whole time? Anyway, I'm going to make lunch. Thank you so much for watching my long live stream. Whether you watched it live or recorded, I appreciate your time and your viewership. I do these things so that I can articulate my ideas. Get my thoughts out. Sometimes you don't know what you really think until you say it. if you're a certain kind of person. Take care. I love you all. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you next time.